Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Gyanvapi truth is out. We had a breaking news development on this yesterday. And today we have accessed 32 exclusive images that totally support the ASI survey's finding backing the Hindu side. The entire Gyanvapi complex was built totally on the remains of a grand, magnificent Hindu temple which was totally demolished in the 17th century. Let's debate.
The Gyanvapi truth is out. 32 pieces of scientific evidence as given in the ASI report are screaming out loud. It's a temple, not a mosque. The images with Republic, part of ASI report, corroborates that truth. From swastik symbols on the walls of Gyanvapi mosque to Hindu symbols at the survey site. Few things are absolutely clear. One, that the Gyanvapi mosque was built over a grand Hindu temple. Two, the mosque was constructed using parts of demolished temple. Three, debris of Hindu deity idols found in basements. Four, inscriptions found in Devanagari, Telugu and Kannada. Lawyer Vishnu Shankar Jain said that the government should hand over the area to the Hindu side.
There is no question of coexistence. There is no question of giving them an alternate land. They have demolished my temple and they have constructed a mosque there. So we need this premises back.
BJP has said that times have changed, but the Muslim side is accusing ASI of foul play.
ज्ञानवापी काशी में सारे वो सबूत हैं, दस्तावेज हैं। इन दस्तावेजों के आधार पर मैं अपील करता हूं मुसलमानों से कि आप जिद न करो, अब जिद न करो, अब दे दो, जिससे आपसी मतभेद न रहे, आपसी प्रेम रहे।
देखिए, चुनाव आ रहे हैं, बीजेपी के पास और मुद्दे तो बचे नहीं है, तो बीजेपी, विश्व हिंदू परिषद, आरएसएस पूरी तरह से मिलके पोलराइजेशन करना चाहते हैं, मैजोरिटोरियल अपीसमेंट पॉलिटिक्स करना चाहते हैं, और अब वो लेके आ गए ज्ञानवापी का मुद्दा। एएसआई का रिपोर्ट का क्या है साइंटिफिक? वो तो उन्हीं के लोग हैं ना, उन्हीं की तरफ से वो लोग करने वाले हैं सब।
Would this development make the Muslim side realize that reconciliation is a natural corollary to truth? Let's debate.
Two eminent historians, Professor Vasant Shinde, well-known and respected historian and archaeologist, Dr. A.K. Verma, a very senior historian from Kanpur and Lucknow, respectively. Tala Amir Rashidi will join us in a bit, and Advocate Vishnu Shankar Jain is with us. To take the contrary perspective, Dr. Verma, from a historical perspective, the ASI report seems to clearly say that there was a large Hindu temple prior to the construction of the existing structure. So this can this not be considered to be safely the last word on the debate, Dr. Verma? Or can anyone poke holes into an ASI report as well?
Thank you, Arnab. Let me just make an initial correction. I am neither a historian nor an archaeologist. I am a student of political science, and therefore, let us the viewers be stand corrected.
No, I'm sorry. That was my introduction for Professor Shinde. So I'm apologies for that. Yeah, but do go on.
Oh, it's all fine. Okay. So this question is addressed to me or to the Professor Shinde?
To you first, Dr.
Yes.
Verma. Can anything override the ASI report in your view, or should that now be considered to be the last word on the subject by all sides?
I think Arnav, so far as the court is concerned, and court will go by the evidence and arguments. And of course, if the court is to base its judgment on the evidence and the arguments, the evidence part becomes a very important. It becomes a fact. And most of the courts, they have been very particular about the scientifically produced facts, and we do not have any other agency which is more reliable than the ASI, which could give us an historical and archaeological evidence. And as you might have seen in the abstract of the report that is available in the public domain, that categorically and without any if and but, the ASI has very clearly stated that beneath this mosque had been a grand temple. And therefore, all the evidences, and even if you leave aside ASI, if you ever have visited the Gyanvapi and the Kashi Vishwanath temple, there are, it's a layman's judgment that if you see Nandi Baba in the Kashi Vishwanath temple, the traditional structure of a Hindu temple, and especially the Shiva temple, is that the Nandi is always, looking at the Shivling. And it's very strange that Nandi Baba is looking at the Gyanvapi. So that is a layman's judgment that this temple, the Gyanvapi mosque, was certainly not a mosque. There was a grand temple, and now the ASI has given absolutely conclusive evidence, and I don't think there is anything that we can doubt about it. To veracity. Arnab.
Before I come to Advocate Vishnu Shankar Jain, Professor Vasant Shinde, thank you very much, Dr. Verma. There is another perspective we need to put out today, and maybe you can throw light on it, that these structures, these mosques built by Aurangzeb and the other invaders, should not be looked at as mosques alone. They should be looked upon as victory monuments. They were meant to assert Muslim superiority by the Muslim rulers of that time, who were in a hurry to destroy the temples and build a mosque to establish that sense of superiority. Now, does that also get underlined given the fact that there is so much detail of the pre-existing Hindu temple which remains? Which means that whoever was destroying the temple, was in such a great hurry to destroy the temple and convert it into a mosque that they did not even bother to change the plaster, the pillars, the inscriptions, the names of gods, the names of deities, Janardhan, Rudra, the inscription, the dates, or even the languages in which the inscriptions were made. So there is a lot of telling evidence. I mean, it's not a little bit of evidence about a temple. It's like the whole temple was left behind. A little plaster was done. It was quickly reconverted and named into a mosque. When you see the ASI report, if you've seen it, you also get that sense, Professor Shinde.
Yes, thank you very much, Arnab, for inviting us here. A very important debate on this Gyanvapi Mass. Now, let me tell you that there are clinching, the excavation that is carried out by the Archaeological Society of India, and the evidence that is produced by the excavation is clinching evidence now. This is the last word now. There is no further, evidence that no one can look for that. Now, before that, I would like to mention that, as Vermaji has also mentioned, that any layman can make out. I have visited this temple and the mosque many times from the outside, and the western wall of the temple, the pillars of the temple, the sculptures of the temple, they're still visible. So even layman can make out that there was a temple. Now, besides that, there is a very important document, this biography of Aurangzeb, which was written by it is called Mashir-e-Alamgiri, and it was written by Muhammad Saki Musta'id-Din Khan. And in that particular biography, he has clearly mentioned that on 9th April 1669, Aurangzeb gave order to demolish temples. Then on 2nd September 1669, the news of demolition of Kashi Vishwanath temple was conveyed to Aurangzeb. And also further, January 1970, during Ramzan, the demolition of temple at Mathura was ordered by Aurangzeb. So this is the document, historical document available. So Aurangzeb himself has written, has given this order, and it is mentioned in his biography. Secondly, that the
entire face of the temple is visible. The western part of the temple is still visible, and we do not know why exactly he has left that particular part as it is. Perhaps he wanted to give maybe impression to the Hindus that that rather he wanted to insult them. Because of that, he has kept that maybe portion open. That is maybe the inference one can draw. And lastly, when this Archaeological Survey of India undertook the scientific clearance, and when they investigated the cells underground, they have found more than 300 objects of the temple. There are a lot of sculptures of Ganesha, sculpture of Vishnu, and there are a lot of Hindu deities. There are marks of this swastika figure on the temple wall, and there are a lot of evidence. There is no evidence of any any kind which will support the mass there. There is 100% evidence supporting the temple presence of temple there. So these are the there are a lot of evidence.
As a historian and archaeologist, Professor Shinde, yes. Before I go to Advocate Vishnu Shankar Jain on what can be the solutions now, quickly, if you can tell me, do you believe that the reason for the Wazukhana, being placed where the shivling is there, where the devout Muslims wash their hands and legs in the reservoir that has the shivling, and they do their ablutions before offering namaz in the Wazukhana, the shivling is being put in such unclean and unhygienic conditions with dead fish lying around, with devotees doing their ablutions. Do you think the placement of the Wazukhana was also deliberate to cause hurt and put down the Hindu community even more?
Yeah, I think it looks like that, because it is now quite clear that that Shivlinga is there, below this Wazukhana. So now it is clear, in fact. And the inference, one can draw different inferences. And Aurangzeb, as I mentioned, that he wanted to insult the Hindus in different ways, and this may be one of the ways of insulting the Hindus further. So it is quite likely, yes.
So Kashi, Mathura, Ayodhya, these are all agenda items for the Hindu community. My question now is to Advocate Vishnu Shankar Jain. It has been a victory for you, and I'm sure you're very happy with the SI report. Question is, Advocate Vishnu Shankar Jain ji, suppose there are some Muslims who believe that given the fact that Aurangzeb and others planned these as victory monuments rather than just as mosques, that if the place has to be handed over to the Hindu community, who can hand it over? Who has the legal right to decide? Right? In this case, right? Who is the legal? Suppose that were to be suggested as a solution, that is a gesture of goodwill. Return the land to the Hindu community. Restore the land to the Hindu community. Who can do that technically?
Technically, two persons can do it. It can be either by the court of law, the district court of Varanasi can pass such an order, and the Anjuman Intizamiya can also hand over the possession of the so-called mosque to the Hindu community, peaceful possession of the so-called mosque to the Hindu community. So these are the two factors by which this issue can be solved. But apart from this, I want to also tell you, Arnab, that ASI's finding is not just based on conjectures and surmises. ASI is a very scientific and technical body, and everything has been photographed and video recorded during this entire proceedings. Let me tell you that this entire area is barricaded, and this comes within the high security zone. So a person going there inside the barricading cannot even take a pen with him inside the barricading. So everything, whatever you are showing on your screen, all these things are found without excavation. No excavation has been carried out. The district court of Varanasi had ordered for excavation. That order was partially modified by the Honorable Allahabad High Court by 3rd August 2023 and affirmed by the Supreme Court on 4th August 2023. So every exercise which has been conducted, and these artifacts which are found in this Hanuman idol is found, Lord Hanuman idol is found, Lord Ganesh idol is found, Lord Krishna idol is found, Shivling is found, destroyed Shivling is found, Argha is found. All these things are found without excavation from the so-called mosque. And the ASI has also given a finding that pillars of Hindu temples were used for the reconstruction of the so-called mosque. The western wall also is of a Hindu temple. So all these things go and prove to show that this was a premise of Hindu temple, and which has been very cleverly converted into a mosque. Now let me also tell you that this survey is as of now incomplete. Not this survey, this exercise of survey is incomplete, because in the Vazu tank area our Shivlingam is lying. And I had made an application before the Honorable Allahabad High Court. The Honorable Allahabad High Court allowed my application on 12th of May 2023 and directed that ASI should conduct survey in the Vazu tank, the reservoir area, the sealed area. The Anjuman Intizamiya, who filed an affidavit in the court claiming that it's not a Shivlingam, it's a fountain, went against this order of the Allahabad High Court to the Supreme Court. And the Honorable Supreme Court has stayed the orders of the Allahabad High Court on 19th May 2023. So the point is that survey has been done in most of the premises. Only now ASI survey is remaining in the Vazu tank area, and that survey also is very, very crucial and very important, because I believe, and I'm strongly saying it on your channel, that it is a Shivlingam. It is not a fountain, and it has been sealed. Vazu as of now is not happening, but that Shivling area can be the
But does it
original
not then become the
structure of the
responsibility of the
Garbhagriha.
court? But does it not then? No, but then my question is, Dr. Verma, if the court has to protect the sentiments of devout people from all communities, including the Hindu community, given the findings of the ASI, is it not the solemn responsibility of the court to factor in what has been found, include the possibility that this is a temple, that inside the Vazukhana there is a Shivling, and stop the the washing of hands and legs in the reservoir where the Shivling is there, so that the continued insult to the sentiments of the Hindu community is at least put to a temporary halt while the matter is resolved? I mean, before the area is handed over, temporarily, at least the duty of the court becomes to make sure that Hindus are not insulted and their sentiments are not trodden upon in this way. What is your thought, Dr. Verma?
True, Arnab. I think what you say is, from the Hindu point of view, is very fine. But from the judicial viewpoint, from the court's viewpoint, I think it's very good that we will probably wait. We have waited for 500 years in the case of Ram Janmabhoomi, and ultimately a unanimous verdict came. That gives us a sense of satisfaction that ultimately, even if we have to take a legal course and have to wait along, then ultimately the truth will win. In the same way, I think most of the temples have the same story. It's not about only Gyanvapi or about this mandir or that temple. Most of the temple, and it is on the historical records, wherever you go, you will find a lot of evidences. So evidences apart, the court has also to factor in the other things, like the communal harmony in the country and other things, so that nobody accuses the court of a hasty judgment. Let the legal process be completed. And of course, as you very rightly said, that taking cognizance of the Hindu sentiment, because as our learned counsel was just now pointing out, that he very strongly believes that it is a Shivlingam, and we all think that it is a Shivlingam. But the court will have to think that it is a Shivlingam, and the court will think only when it has a very conclusive evidence and the court is convinced that it is a Shivlingam. Only probably then the court will, restrain that.
But the matter can't be
in that particular.
But how soon are we moving towards a judgment in this case? In your take, Advocate Vishnu Shankar Jainji, how fast do you see this move now?
So we are moving in a very fast pace. The matter is pending in the District Court of Varanasi. I am going to approach the Honorable Supreme Court for vacation of the stay order of the sealed area, and I'm going to ask for a SI survey of the sealed area where the Vazu tank is located, where the Shivlingam is located. And after that exercise is conducted and the ASI gives a report on the Vazu tank area, then there is very hardly any time which will be left in the trial, because after that the legal process is that the issues will be framed in the civil suit. the evidence part will be filed in the court, the oral and documentary evidence apart from the ASI evidence, and then ultimately the judgment of the Honorable District Court of
So you
Varanasi
want the Wazukhana place to be cleared out. You want the Wazukhana area particularly to be cleared out while
Yes.
the matter continues to be heard.
I want
You
first
don't
that the
want
Wazoo
Muslims
area,
to do their ablutions in the place where you believe the Shivling exists.
Yes, I first want, as of now, let me tell you the legal position. That area has been sealed by the Honorable District Court of Varanasi on 16th of May 2022, and that order has been upheld by the Honorable Supreme Court on 17th of May 2022. So as of now, no wazoo is happening in that sealed area. That was stopped a long back on 17th May 2022. But after that, Shivling is lying there. Recently, there were fishes which had died in the Shivling area, and we had asked for cleaning of that wazoo tank. The Honorable Supreme Court directed for cleaning. As of now, no water is lying in that wazoo tank area. So the legal position is we want first an ASI survey on the sealed area because that was excluded in this survey. So that area needs to be investigated, and after that exercise is conducted, very less time will be there in this trial. We will be able to finish this trial within 3 months.
From a historical perspective, may I ask you, Professor Shinde, and both scientifically and in terms of historical relevance, how intense is this battle for the Muslim community here? I know that the Hindu community is very involved. And I know that in the Babri case, the Muslim community got very involved after the demolition, particularly after the demolition. But in this case, I don't see passions very high in the Muslim community about this particular site. Am I correct in my assessment?
Yeah, I think, because as I say that, the evidence is so glaring. I think any layman, in fact, can make out, there was a temple here. And as I was mentioned that, the ASI has done, very, scientific work at this particular place. But that was the first stage, phase of the work that ASI has done. There are two stages. One is the, exploration and the, scientific clearance. And in the scientific clearance, of course, they have found, 100%, Hindu objects. There is no doubt about that. And then, then maybe in the next stage, to establish, the, chronology, how the things have happened. Perhaps, some, limited excavation needs to be, done at the site. And that will be their last and the clinching evidence. At this stage also, there is a strong evidence to indicate, there was a temple there and the temple was destroyed. Part of that temple is visible and a lot of objects, maybe the members of the, pillars and, the sculptures are lying there. So that there is no question about that. And people know about that. And because of that, that they, even, Muslim also know that, the temple was there. The temple is visible even today. And so there is no point in fact, in arguing further. And that may be the reason that they have withdrawn in fact their interest in fact from this.
Absolutely. Well, several facts have come out here, including the fact that there is an Islamic record which says that Aurangzeb gave a farman and he told all his governors, destroy all the schools and all the temples of the infidels, right?
Yes.
Destroy their religious practices. And therefore, there is one solution here. If the Muslim side, which does not have to stand up for all the atrocities of Aurangzeb, were to do this gesture, now that the scientific evidence is there of handing over the site to the Hindu community, it remains an option. Of course, it will require a great deal of mediation. Things outside the court will also always be more pleasant. I'm tracking the story closely. I thank Dr. Verma, Professor Shinde, and Advocate Vishnu Shankar Jain for joining me. And I promise to be back with you, viewers, not just with the debate, but with a lot of perspective at 9 o'clock tomorrow. The big story continues to be Nitish Kumar. See you tomorrow evening. Good night and goodbye.